After a glaring absence on his top 5 players of all-time list during Tuesday night's NBA Countdown by leaving out LeBron James, Kendrick Perkins responded on Hoop Streams to that omission by Paul.
What has LeBron did to build up any organization? You talk about these great players. They're all top flight players in the top 5 or top 10. Bill Russell built up the organization in Boston. Kareem, Magic, Jordan, Tim Duncan, Kobe, Bird.
Here's the thing. Paul Pierce's list is personal, right? Because we don't talk about this enough, but Paul and Bron have never liked each other since Bron rookie year.
Stephen A., what do you think about all that? Is Paul wrong to leave LeBron out of his top 5?
I think so. Listen, Paul Pierce, as far as I'm concerned, is a future Hall of Fame. He's a champion. I respect the hell out of him. But I just think that he's wrong here. And I'm not going to sit up there and attach. I think Kendrick Perkins is perfectly within his right to attach it because he's a former teammate of Paul Pierce. So he has insight and inside information that we would not have. But at the end of the day, when I look at Paul Pierce and saying what you said, you know basketball. You've competed against LeBron. You've seen him compared to his contemporaries. And, yeah, it took him – he's slowing the uptake. That's why I won't give him the edge over MJ. But there is no doubt that Miami took off once Dwayne Wade convinced LeBron, you're the best in the world, and we need you to be that. Don't defer to me. It's your team. And that's really where LeBron James' game took on a new dimension. In the end, I think that if you're Paul Pierce, watching LeBron and knowing his size, his physicality, his athleticism, his abilities, the basketball savant that he is, and how he thinks the game as well as play it, you can't be a basketball player going against him and literally look throughout history when Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan and everybody else in between recognizes LeBron as an all-time great, and you don't even have him in your top 5. Come on now, that's a bit excessive. It really is.
Hold on. Top 5, it's just not possible. If you want to say MJ is obviously 1, then who's 2? Kareem? Or do you want to, who do you want to put? Kareem, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain ahead of LeBron? Because it ain't Bird or Magic, and it's not Kobe, I hate to tell you. So who's going in ahead of LeBron?
And it can't be the three
centers. In the top 5? Wait a minute. Look, he's played, this is his 17th season. His rookie season, he wasn't an MVP candidate, okay? But I think he finished in the top 10. He's had 13 top 5 MVP finishes in 17 years. It'll be 14 after this one's complete. So only 3 seasons he's not a top 5 MVP. Forget about the 4 he actually won. And in 2 of those seasons, he was a top 10 candidate. The one time he wasn't a top 10 candidate in his entire career was last season when he got hurt. And by the way, he came in 11th, had 11 MVP shares. So he came in 11th in terms of MVP shares. How is that guy not in the top 5? It's just not possible.
Max, let me share something with you. I'm going to throw this at you. You brought up the example, and I know you weren't talking about it. You were just speaking in hypotheticals. But what I'm saying is when we mention Kareem and Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, right? Let me tell you what my mindset and my thinking is, Max. You can only pick one. Because they competed against one another. So in other words, what I'm saying is that as great and phenomenal as I know Wilt Chamberlain is, and how my man Sonny Hill in Philadelphia, the godfather of basketball in Philadelphia as far as I'm concerned, how he was friends with Wilt Chamberlain, he knew him all his life, how he talks about Wilt. Wilt has 2 titles. Bill Russell had 11. And most of the 11 came against Wilt Chamberlain, for crying out loud. That's the person that was his nemesis. So how can I sit up there and put Wilt and Bill Russell? You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is like
I do, but here's what I'll say.
I don't believe that you can take all of them and ignore that.
They also played in the old days. They didn't play in the modern era. Kareem played in the modern era, so I usually pick Kareem. But the thing about Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain is one had the numbers, Wilt, one had the chips, Bill Russell. Michael Jordan came along, replaced them both because he had the numbers and the chips, right? LeBron is a version of Jordan that way. He's got 3 chips. He's got all the numbers. His peak isn't quite the same. He's not as invincible, but then the longevity It's like really number 2 on the list after MJ comes down to Kareem or LeBron. You pick one of those two for your second best,
and I guess for
at
me,
least
Max,
in the modern era.
And I guess for me, Max, if LeBron had gone against MJ and he lost considerably more against MJ than he won, then I wouldn't even have him as number 2 because the number 1 dude kept beating you. You see what I'm saying? Now, I would still appreciate your greatness, but there would be something missing from that equation. I think that we have to we ignore the competition sometimes, and I think we have to bring that in to measure the greatness of certain individuals. I just think that's necessary.
One thing we know is he's top 5 all time, and in fact, he's also on the Mount Rushmore, which means top 4 of all time. You can't really argue LeBron's not on the Mount Rushmore of basketball, and you can't argue he's not a top 5 player. It's ridiculous.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.